The lights in Cargo Bay 7 flickered as Commander Zethka stepped through the doorway. Her tall frame cast long shadows across the metal floor. The Valkyrian officer's crystalline skin caught the dim light, making her look like a living statue. Her forearms moved with practiced grace as she checked her enforcement baton and scanner. Kepler 442b station was not a place for important people. It sat on the edge of known space where traders and smugglers did business away from prying eyes. Most council officers avoided this posting, but Zethka had requested it. She wanted action, not the boring desk work back on the core worlds. The tip had come in an hour ago. Someone was selling illegal weapons in the cargo bay. Zethka's scanner showed 2 heat signatures ahead. She moved forward, her boots making soft clicking sounds on the metal grating. Around a stack of shipping containers, she found them. A human male sat on a crate talking to a Centaurian merchant. Between them lay an open case filled with what looked like energy weapons. The human was unremarkable by most standards. Average height, brown hair, wearing simple trader clothes. But something about his posture caught Zethka's attention. He sat too still, too alert. "Station security," Zethka announced, her voice echoing in the bay. "Step away from the merchandise." The Centaurian immediately raised all 4 of his hands and backed away. His large eyes showed fear. "Officer, I was just looking. I did not buy anything." But the human did not move. He looked up at Zethka with calm brown eyes. "Good afternoon, officer. Is there a problem?" Zethka studied him. Most species showed some fear when confronted by a Valkyrian officer. Their race was known throughout the galaxy for their strength and combat skills, but this human seemed completely relaxed. "Marcus Chen," the human said, standing slowly. "Registered trader, human citizen." "And you are?" "Commander Zethka, Hegemony Enforcement Corps. I have reason to believe you are conducting illegal weapons trading. Submit to search and seizure immediately." Marcus looked down at the open case, then back at Zethka. "I'm afraid there's been a mistake, Commander. These items are not for sale. I'm conducting a legal inspection under Human Trade Protocol 77 Alpha." Zethka's scanner beeped. She looked at the reading and frowned. The weapons were real, but they seemed to be modified somehow. "You will submit to search, human. This is not a request." "Actually, it is," Marcus said quietly. "Under the Diplomatic Immunity Accords of 2387, human citizens have the right to refuse search without proper warrants when conducting legal business activities." The Valkyrian commander felt her temper rising. In 50 years of galactic politics, she had seen humans grow more bold. They quoted laws and treaties like they had been part of the Council for centuries instead of just 5 decades. It was irritating. "The Council recognizes no such immunity for minor species," Zethka said, stepping closer. "You will comply or face arrest." Marcus tilted his head slightly. "Minor species? That's an interesting way to put it, Commander. I wonder if the Council still thinks of us that way." Something in his tone made Zethka pause, but her pride would not let her back down. Valkyrians did not retreat from challenges, especially not from humans. These soft creatures had no real military power. They had joined the galactic community through trade and diplomacy, not strength. "Last warning, human. Submit to search." Marcus reached into his jacket. Zethka's hand moved to her weapon, but he only pulled out a small communication device. "I need to make a call before we proceed." "Surely the commander can allow that." "No communications. Drop the device and submit to search." Marcus looked at the comm device, then at Zethka. For a moment she thought she saw something cold flash in his eyes, but when he looked up again his expression was calm. "I'm sorry, Commander, but I cannot comply. I have rights under interstellar law and I intend to exercise them." That was enough. Zethka had served in the Enforcement Corps for 20 years. She had dealt with pirates, smugglers, and rebels across the galaxy. She would not be lectured on law by a human trader in a cargo bay. Her crystalline enforcement baton extended with a sharp click. The weapon could stun most species with a light touch, or kill with a full-power strike. She did not intend to kill the human, just teach him respect. "Since you refuse to comply, you are under arrest for—" Marcus moved, not to run or fight, but to raise the communication device to his mouth. "Command, this is—" Zethka struck. The baton came down across Marcus's face with a sharp crack. The blow would have shattered the skull of a Centaurian or knocked out a Rigelian. It sent the human stumbling backward, blood streaming from a deep cut above his left eye. The communication device clattered across the floor. Zethka expected the human to collapse. She expected him to surrender. She did not expect him to straighten up, wipe blood from his face, and look at her with eyes that suddenly seemed much older and much more dangerous. That, Marcus said quietly, was a mistake. Blood ran down his cheek, but he did not seem to notice. He walked slowly to where his communication device had fallen and picked it up. Zethka raised her baton again, but something in his movements made her hesitate. Marcus activated the device. When he spoke, his voice was completely calm, as if he had not just been struck in the face with a weapon that could crack stone. Cerberus, that was all. One word. Then he set the device down and looked at Zethka again. "Commander," he said, touching the cut on his face, "you have just assaulted a human citizen in violation of the Interstellar Peace Accords, the Species Protection Treaty, and about 15 other laws I could name. Under human law, that is an act of aggression against the human race," Zethka laughed. "You dare threaten the Council? Humans have no power here. You are guests in our galaxy." Marcus smiled, but there was no humor in it. Blood still dripped from his chin. "Your galaxy? That's another interesting way to put it." The Centaurian merchant had pressed himself against the far wall, clearly wanting to be anywhere else. Zethka barely noticed him. Her attention was focused on the human, who seemed completely unafraid despite bleeding from her strike. "You are under arrest," Zethka said again, but her voice lacked the certainty it had held before. "No," Marcus said simply. "I don't think I am." He bent down and closed the case of weapons. As he did, Zethka noticed something she had missed before. The weapons were not just modified, they were completely fake. Elaborate props designed to look real to scanners. "What is this?" she demanded. Marcus straightened up with the case in his hand. "This, Commander, was a sting operation to track weapons smuggling routes." "Those were tracking devices, not weapons. You just assaulted a human operative conducting legal law enforcement activities." Zethka felt a cold sensation in her stomach. "You are lying." "I'm afraid not." "And that word I said, Cerberus, that was a code word, Commander. It means that a human citizen has been attacked by a foreign power. It activates certain protocols." The lights in the cargo bay flickered again. This time, Zethka realized it was not a power fluctuation. Something was interfering with the station's systems. Marcus walked toward the exit, still bleeding, still calm. "You might want to contact your superiors, Commander. I think they're going to want to know what just happened here." As he reached the doorway, he turned back. "Oh, and Commander? You should know that hitting a human citizen is considered an act of war by my people. We tend to take that sort of thing very personally." Then he was gone, leaving Zethka alone in the cargo bay with a very frightened Centaurian merchant and a growing sense that she had just made a terrible mistake. Station Commander Yultar was enjoying his afternoon meal when the first alarm sounded. The Centaurian officer nearly choked on his imported kelp strips as red lights began flashing throughout his office. His four hands moved quickly across the control panel, trying to understand what was happening. "Sir," came the voice of his communications officer, "we have 3 unknown vessels approaching the station." "They just appeared." Yultar's large eyes widened. Ships did not just appear in space. They came through jump gates or traveled through normal space. Both methods gave plenty of warning. "What do you mean appeared?" "They materialized approximately 50,000 kilometers from the station. No jump signature, no approach vector. They were just suddenly there." The station commander hurried to his main display screen. 3 ships hung in space like dark knives against the stars. They were unlike any design he had seen before. Smooth, angular, with no visible weapons or engine ports. But something about them made his skin crawl. "Have they responded to our hails?" "Negative, sir. But we are receiving a transmission request from the lead vessel." Yultar straightened his uniform. Unknown ships appearing from nowhere was not good. But perhaps this was some new council technology he had not been informed about. "Put them through." The screen flickered and a human face appeared. The woman was young, maybe 30 standard years, with short dark hair and cold blue eyes. She wore a military uniform Yultar did not recognize. "Station Commander," the human said without introduction. "This is Captain Sarah Rodriguez of the Human Defense Force vessel Aurora. We require the immediate transfer of 1 Valkyrian officer, Commander Zethka, to our custody." Yultar blinked all 4 eyes in confusion. Excuse me?" "Captain, I am not familiar with any human defense force, and I certainly cannot transfer council officers to—" "Commander Zethka assaulted a human citizen approximately 2 hours ago," Rodriguez interrupted. Under the interstellar peace accords, she is subject to human justice for crimes against humanity. The station commander felt his stomach drop. He had heard about the incident in Cargo Bay 7. Zethka had filed a report claiming she arrested a human smuggler who resisted search. She made no mention of any assault. Captain Rodriguez, if there has been some misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding. Marcus Chen, a human citizen conducting legal business activities, was struck in the face with an enforcement baton by your officer. This constitutes assault with a deadly weapon under human law. Yultar tried to think. The humans had been part of the galactic community for 50 years, but they were still considered a minor species. They had no military to speak of, and their technology was basic compared to the older races. So why was he suddenly afraid? Captain, I will need to contact the council about this matter. There are procedures. You have 6 hours, Rodriguez said simply. Transfer Zethka to our custody, or we will take proportional action. The screen went dark. Yultar stared at the blank display for several seconds. Then he activated his emergency communication system and called for Commander Zethka to report to his office immediately. She arrived 20 minutes later, looking annoyed. Station Commander, I am in the middle of processing evidence from my arrest. This had better be important. Sit down, Commander. Yultar gestured to a chair with one of his hands while the others worked on his computer. Tell me exactly what happened in Cargo Bay 7. Zethka settled into the chair, her crystalline skin reflecting the office lights. Standard smuggling operation. I received a tip about illegal weapons trading. When I arrived, I found a human conducting business with a Centaurian. The human resisted search and attempted to contact accomplices. I placed him under arrest. Did you strike him? The Valkyrian officer paused. The suspect was non-compliant. I used standard enforcement procedures to maintain control of the situation. Yultar felt his fear growing. Commander, there are 3 human warships outside this station demanding your immediate transfer to their custody. They claim you assaulted their citizen. Zethka laughed. Human warships? Station Commander, humans do not have warships. They have a few patrol boats and cargo escorts, and they certainly do not make demands of council officers. See for yourself. Yultar activated his display screen again. The 3 dark ships still hung in space, motionless but somehow menacing. Zethka studied the image. Her expression slowly changed from amusement to confusion. What class of vessel are those? I do not know. They appeared from nowhere. No jump signature, no approach vector, and their captain seemed very certain about what she wanted. The Valkyrian commander stood up and walked to the window. She could see the ships with her own eyes now. Dark shapes against the star field. This is clearly some kind of mistake. Humans do not have cloaking technology. They barely have faster-than-light travel. Commander, Yultar said quietly, I need you to tell me the truth. Did you hit that human? Zethka turned from the window. I struck a suspect who was resisting arrest and attempting to contact criminal accomplices. It is standard procedure. How hard did you hit him? Hard enough to maintain order. He was still conscious afterward. Yultar felt sick. Commander, you may have just started an interstellar incident. Before Zethka could respond, the communication system activated again. This time, a different human appeared on the screen. This one was older, with gray hair and eyes like chips of ice. The uniform was the same, but there were more rank insignia. Station Commander, the new human said. I am Admiral Chen Wei of the Human Defense Force. I believe you have been contacted about the transfer of the Valkyrian officer who assaulted my son. Admiral Chen. The name meant nothing to Yultar, but something about the way the human spoke made him very nervous. Admiral, we are reviewing the incident. There are protocols. My son Marcus Chen was conducting a legal law enforcement operation when your officer struck him with a weapon capable of killing most galactic species. He now has a permanent scar across his face. Under human law, this is assault with a deadly weapon and attempted murder. Zethka stepped forward. Your son was smuggling weapons and resisting. My son, Admiral Chen interrupted, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper, was using fake weapons as tracking devices to identify smuggling routes. He is an operative of Human Intelligence Services, conducting legal activities under council authorization. You struck a law enforcement officer of a council member species. The station commander felt the room spinning around him. Admiral, surely we can resolve this through proper channels. Station Commander, you have 4 hours and 37 minutes to transfer the officer to our custody. If you refuse, we will consider this station to be harboring a criminal who committed an act of war against humanity. Zethka stepped closer to the screen. You threaten a council station? You dare threaten the Hegemony Enforcement Corps? Humans are a minor species with no military power. You have no authority here. Admiral Chen looked at the Valkyrian officer for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was calm and cold. Commander, you are about to learn exactly how much authority we have. The transmission ended. Yultar immediately activated his communication system and sent an emergency message to the Galactic Council. This was far beyond his authority to handle. Within an hour, he received a reply. Council Representative Vorthak appeared on his screen. The Valkyrian politician looked annoyed at being disturbed. Station Commander, what is this nonsense about human warships? Sir, there are 3 vessels of unknown design holding position near the station. They are demanding the transfer of Commander Zethka for assault on a human citizen. Vorthak's expression showed disgust. Commander Zethka is a decorated officer of the Hegemony Enforcement Corps. She will not be turned over to humans for doing her duty. These ships are probably cargo vessels with fake IDs trying to intimidate you. Sir, with respect, these do not look like cargo vessels. Station Commander, humans joined the galactic community 50 years ago as a trade species. They have no significant military, no advanced technology, and no authority to make demands of council officers. You will ignore their threats and continue normal operations. Yultar wanted to argue, but Vorthak was a council representative. Yes, sir. What should I tell the human ships? Tell them to file a formal complaint through proper channels if they believe an injustice has occurred. Tell them that Commander Zethka is under council protection and will not be transferred. And Station Commander? Yes, sir? If those ships do not leave within 24 hours, contact the 4th Fleet and have them escorted out of the system. The transmission ended, leaving Yultar alone with his growing fear. 3 hours later, the Aurora contacted the station again. This time, Admiral Chen herself appeared on the screen. Behind her, Yultar could see what looked like a military command center. Humans in uniform moved purposefully in the background. Station Commander, Admiral Chen said, I trust you have had time to consider our request. Admiral, the Galactic Council has reviewed the situation. They have determined that Commander Zethka acted within her authority as a council officer. They regret any misunderstanding, but she will not be transferred. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. I see, and what compensation are they offering for the assault on my son? The council is prepared to offer a formal apology and assurance. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in the Great Chamber on Concordia Prime. Representatives from dozens of species filled the circular hall, their voices creating a buzz of confusion and concern. At the center sat the High Council, the 7 most powerful species in the galaxy. Councillor Vorthak stood at his speaking platform, his crystalline Valkyrian features reflecting the chamber lights. Fellow council members, we face an unprecedented situation. The human species, a minor member admitted to our community only 50 years ago, has made threats against a council station and demanded the surrender of a hegemony enforcement officer. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several representatives showed obvious amusement at the idea of humans making threats. The officer in question, Commander Zethka, was performing her lawful duties when she encountered resistance from a human smuggler. Following standard enforcement protocols, she placed the criminal under arrest. Now the humans claim this was an assault and demand her extradition for trial. Councillor Brixtel of the Centaurian Alliance raised one of his 4 hands. What evidence do the humans present for their claims? They claim their citizen was conducting legal business and was struck without provocation. However, Commander Zethka's report clearly states the human was smuggling weapons and resisted arrest. The humans have provided no proof of their version of events. The representative from the Rigelian Federation spoke up. What of these human warships? Our intelligence reports 3 vessels of unknown configuration near the station. Vorthak dismissed this with a wave. Likely cargo vessels with false identification. Humans possess no significant military technology. Their fleet consists of converted trade ships and system patrol craft. This is clearly an attempt at intimidation. High Councillor Nalthok of the Hegemony Corps leaned forward. The ancient being's voice carried across the chamber like distant thunder. Yet these vessels appeared without detection. How do we explain this capability? Sensor malfunction, or possibly some form of crude stealth technology. Nothing that poses a genuine threat to council authority. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued for negotiation, others for military response. But the consensus was clear. Humanity was overreaching and the Council would not bow to threats from a junior species. During the discussion, new intelligence reports arrived. Admiral Chen Wei was identified as the architect of humanity's space expansion program. Her son, Marcus Chen, was confirmed as a human intelligence operative, though his specific mission remained classified. The weapons found at the scene were indeed sophisticated tracking devices disguised as energy weapons. This information changed nothing for most Council members. If anything, it suggested the humans were more devious than previously thought. Councillor Vorthak called for order. The facts are simple. A Council officer performed her duty in arresting a suspected criminal. That the criminal was conducting some form of intelligence operation makes his resistance even more suspicious. The humans demand we surrender our officer to their primitive justice system. This is unacceptable. High Councillor Nalthok spoke again. What of the proportional justice doctrine? The human was not permanently injured. Does this not limit the appropriate response? Precisely, Vorthak agreed. The human survived with minor injuries. Under galactic law, any punishment must be proportional to the actual harm caused. A fine and temporary rank reduction for Commander Zethka would be more than adequate. The vote was called. 47 species voted to refuse the human demands. Only 3 abstained, citing insufficient information. None voted in favor of extradition. The decision was transmitted to Kepler 442b station immediately. Meanwhile, in space near the station, Admiral Chen received the Council's response aboard the dreadnought Indomitable. The massive ship had decloaked just hours earlier, revealing itself to be 3 times larger than any known Council vessel. Its arrival had triggered another wave of panic throughout the station. The Admiral stood in the ship's command center, surrounded by displays showing tactical information from across the galaxy. Her staff worked quietly at their stations, monitoring communications and preparing various scenarios. "Admiral," reported Commander Torres, "the Council has formally refused our request. They cite the proportional justice doctrine and claim Commander Zethka acted within her authority." Admiral Chen nodded slowly. She had expected this response. The Council had spent 50 years treating humanity as junior partners, useful for trade but not worthy of true respect. They would not easily abandon that position. What of Station Commander Yultar? He's requesting additional time to negotiate. The man seems genuinely afraid, but he lacks authority to act against Council orders. The Admiral turned to study the tactical display. 3 more human fleets had moved into position throughout the galaxy. Invisible to Council sensors but ready to act. 50 years of careful preparation were about to be tested. "Admiral Chen," came a new voice. Marcus Chen entered the command center, the left side of his face covered by a medical patch. Despite his injury, he moved with the calm precision of a trained operative. "Son," the Admiral acknowledged, "you should be in medical. I'm fine. The wound will heal, though I'll have a permanent scar." Marcus touched the patch gently. "Has the Council responded?" "They refuse to surrender Zethka. They offer a formal apology and assurance that procedures will be reviewed." Marcus showed no emotion, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "After 50 years, they still don't understand us." "No," Admiral Chen agreed. "They see us as we were when we first joined the galactic community. Primitive, grateful, harmless. They never asked what we were learning during all those years of quiet cooperation." She turned to address the command center. "All stations prepare for Operation Cerberus. Authorization Chen Alpha 7. The activity in the command center increased immediately. Officers began coordinating with hidden human installations across the galaxy. Communication arrays powered up, defensive systems activated, and in a dozen secret facilities, weapons that had never been tested in combat began their final startup sequences. "Admiral," Commander Torres called out, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the Aurora. Captain Rodriguez reports Council military vessels moving toward the station." "How many?" 3 heavy cruisers and a command ship. "ETA 4 hours." Admiral Chen considered this. The Council was calling her bluff, sending a show of force to demonstrate their superiority. They expected the human ships to withdraw when faced with superior numbers and firepower. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Signal the Aurora and the Defiant. Begin Phase 1 of Cerberus Protocol." "Admiral," Marcus said quietly, "are you certain about this?" Once we start, there will be no going back. Admiral Chen looked at her son, at the medical patch covering where an alien officer had struck him for doing his duty, for conducting legal operations as a representative of humanity, for being human in a galaxy that still saw his species as inferior. Marcus, when you joined intelligence services, what was the first thing they taught you? Never let an attack on humanity go unanswered. And why do we follow that principle? Because the moment we allow ourselves to be victims, we become prey for every species in the galaxy. Admiral Chen nodded. The Council made a choice today. They decided that attacking a human citizen carries no real consequences. They decided that our laws, our justice, our sovereignty mean nothing compared to their convenience. She turned back to the tactical display, where red icons showed the approaching Council fleet. Signal all human installations. This is Admiral Chen with Authorization Omega. 50 years ago, we joined the galactic community as supplicants, grateful for any place at the table. Today, we take our rightful place as equals. The communication went out across space, reaching every hidden human facility, every secret research station, every cloaked ship waiting in the darkness between stars. The response was immediate and coordinated. Across the galaxy, human technology that had been carefully hidden for 5 decades suddenly revealed itself. Advanced stealth systems dropped their concealment. Defensive platforms powered up weapons that made Council technology look primitive. And in the deep space between star systems, fleets that had been building and training in absolute secrecy began moving toward strategic positions. The Council had spent 50 years assuming humanity would remain grateful and harmless. They had never considered that humanity might use those 50 years to become something else entirely. Admiral, reported Commander Torres, all human installations are reporting ready status. Operation Cerberus is fully active. Admiral Chen opened a communication channel to the Council fleet approaching the station. When the transmission connected, she found herself facing a hegemony admiral she recognized from intelligence reports. Admiral Chen, the hegemony officer said, "This is Admiral Korthag of the Council Defense Force. You will withdraw your vessels immediately and submit to Council authority." "Admiral Korthag," Chen replied calmly, "I am here to collect a criminal who assaulted a human citizen. Transfer Commander Zethka to my custody, and my ships will withdraw. The Council has ruled on this matter. Commander Zethka is under our protection. You have no authority here." Admiral Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Admiral, you are about to discover exactly how much authority humanity possesses." She cut. Commander Zethka sat in her quarters aboard Kepler 442b station, cleaning her enforcement equipment. The crystalline surface of her skin reflected the light as she worked, methodical and precise. She had no doubt the Council would handle this human nonsense quickly. In her 20 years of service, she had never seen the Council back down from threats by minor species. The door to her quarters chimed. "Enter," she called, not looking up from her work. Station Commander Yultar stepped inside, his 4 hands fidgeting nervously. "Commander, I need to speak with you about the current situation." "What situation?" Zethka set down her baton and looked at the Centaurian. "Have the humans been dealt with?" "The Council has refused their demands as expected. But Commander, there are developments you should know about." Yultar activated a portable display unit. The screen showed the space around the station, but what Zethka saw made no sense. Instead of 3 small ships, space was filled with massive vessels. Dozens of them arranged in perfect formation. "What am I looking at?" "The human fleet, Commander." They were cloaked. "We never detected the real size of their force." Zethka studied the image more carefully. The ships were unlike anything in Council databases. Sleek, angular, with weapon systems she did not recognize, but they were still just ships. How many vessels? 37 confirmed. Possibly more. "And Commander, these are not converted trade ships. Our sensors indicate military-grade armor, advanced weapon systems, and stealth technology beyond our current capabilities." Zethka stood up, towering over the smaller Centaurian. "Station Commander, you seem frightened of these humans. Remember that we represent the Galactic Council. We have the authority of 700 star systems behind us." "Commander, with respect, I have been monitoring Council communications. The emergency session has ended. They voted to refuse human demands, but the intelligence reports are disturbing." "Explain." Yultar manipulated the display, showing a star chart of the galaxy. Red dots appeared across the map, hundreds of them. These are human installations that have revealed themselves in the past 6 hours. Research facilities, communication arrays, weapons platforms. They have been building a secret infrastructure for decades. Zethka examined the chart. The installations were everywhere, positioned near major trade routes and council worlds. How is this possible? Our intelligence services would have detected such construction. Not if they were using advanced stealth technology. Commander, the humans have been watching us for 50 years. They know our patrol routes, our communication frequencies, our defensive capabilities. They have been preparing for this. The Valkyrian officer felt the first stirring of unease. But she pushed it down. Fear was not acceptable for a member of the Hegemony Enforcement Corps. Station Commander, you are allowing yourself to be intimidated by an elaborate deception. Humans do not possess such technology. They are a primitive species with basic space travel and simple weapons. Commander, I have been reviewing our intelligence files on humanity. Did you know that in the 50 years since they joined the galactic community, they have never once shared their military technology with council scientists? Because they have no meaningful military technology to share. Or because they did not want us to see what they were really developing. Before Zethka could respond, the station's communication system activated. Admiral Chen appeared on the display, her expression cold and determined. Commander Zethka, the human said without preamble. I am Admiral Chen Wei of the Human Defense Force. You assaulted my son during his legal duties as a law enforcement officer. Under human law, this constitutes attempted murder and an act of aggression against humanity. Zethka stepped forward to face the screen. Admiral, your son was smuggling weapons and resisting lawful arrest. I performed my duty as a council officer. My son was conducting a classified operation with full council authorization. The weapons were tracking devices designed to identify smuggling networks. You struck him with a weapon that could have killed him. He survived with minor injuries. The matter has been reviewed by proper authorities. Admiral Chen leaned forward slightly. Minor injuries? Commander, do you understand what you have done? You have scarred a human citizen for life. Under our law, permanent disfigurement constitutes grievous bodily harm. Zethka felt a flash of irritation. Human law has no jurisdiction over council officers. The Galactic Council has already ruled on this matter. Has it? Admiral Chen smiled, but the expression was cold as space. Let me share something with you, Commander. For 50 years, humanity has been studying galactic law. Every treaty, every precedent, every legal principle the Council has established. The display changed, showing what appeared to be a legal document. Article 47 of the Interstellar Justice Code states that when a citizen of one species is assaulted by an officer of another species during the performance of legal duties, the victim's species has jurisdiction over prosecution. Zethka read the document with growing confusion. That article applies only to assaults between council member species of equal standing. Correct. And as of 6 months ago, humanity was reclassified from junior member status to full member status. The paperwork was filed quietly, processed through routine channels. The council approved it without much attention. Station Commander Yultar's large eyes widened. Admiral, are you saying? I am saying that humanity now has full legal authority to prosecute crimes against our citizens, regardless of the species of the perpetrator. Commander Zethka is subject to human justice for her assault on Marcus Chen. Zethka felt the foundation of her certainty beginning to crack. This is absurd. The council would never allow. The council already allowed it. They voted on the reclassification 6 months ago. 43 votes in favor, 2 opposed, 2 abstentions. It is legal and binding under galactic law. Admiral Chen gestured and the display changed again. This time it showed what appeared to be a military tribunal chamber. Human officers in formal uniforms sat behind a curved desk. The human military court has reviewed the evidence and issued a warrant for your arrest, Commander. You are charged with assault with a deadly weapon, attempted murder, and violation of interstellar law. The penalty for these crimes under human law is death. The word hit Zethka like a physical blow. Death for striking a smuggler? For attempting to kill a law enforcement officer of a council member species? For committing an act of war against humanity? Zethka began to understand the trap that had been laid. The humans had not simply reacted to the incident, they had prepared for it. The legal framework, the military response, the intelligence network, all of it designed for this moment. Admiral, Station Commander Yultar interjected, Surely there must be some way to resolve this peacefully. Commander Zethka was performing her duties as she understood them. Station Commander, if your officer had killed my son, would you accept our assurance that it was a misunderstanding? Yoltar had no answer. Admiral Chen continued. The Human Defense Force is prepared to accept Commander Zethka's surrender and trial by human law. If she is found guilty, sentence will be carried out according to our legal system. If she is found innocent, she will be returned unharmed. Zethka found her voice again. I will not surrender to primitive human justice. The Hegemony Enforcement Corps does not bow to threats from minor species. Minor species? Admiral Chen repeated. Commander, look at your sensors. Look at the ships surrounding this station. Look at the installations appearing across the galaxy. Do we still seem minor to you? Numbers mean nothing. We have faced larger fleets before. Have you? Tell me, Commander. What do you know about human military doctrine? Zethka hesitated. The truth was she knew very little. Humans were not considered a military threat worthy of study. Human military doctrine is based on a simple principle, Admiral Chen explained. Overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. We do not fight fair, Commander. We fight to win, absolutely and completely. The display changed once more, showing a tactical analysis of the space around the station. The human ships were positioned in a perfect sphere, with overlapping fields of fire covering every possible escape route. Your reinforcements will arrive in 2 hours. 3 heavy cruisers and a command ship. Impressive vessels by Council standards. But observe. The tactical display zoomed out, revealing additional human ships positioned along the approach route. Dozens of them, hidden in the shadows of asteroids and space debris. Your reinforcements will be intercepted and destroyed before they reach this station. The survivors will be given the opportunity to surrender. Zethka stared at the display in growing horror. The humans had not simply surrounded the station. They had anticipated every possible Council response and prepared counters for each one. This is impossible. Human technology is primitive compared to Council standard. Is it? Commander, what do you know about human research over the past 50 years? The display showed images of massive industrial complexes hidden in distant star systems. Shipyards building vessels with technology that seemed generations ahead of anything the Council possessed. While you were assuming we remained primitive, we were studious. Commander Zethka was found dead in her cell at 347 hours station time. The discovery sent shockwaves through Kepler 442b station. The cell was maximum security, designed to hold the most dangerous criminals in the galaxy. Energy barriers, redundant locks, constant monitoring. Yet somehow the Velkarian officer had died in what appeared to be a perfect execution. Station Commander Yultar stood outside the cell, staring at the body in disbelief. Zethka lay on her bunk as if sleeping, but her crystalline skin had lost all its inner light. The medical scanner showed complete system failure. Heart, lungs, nervous system, everything had simply stopped functioning simultaneously. How is this possible? Yultar asked the station's chief medical officer. Dr. Vexital, a Rigelian physician, consulted his readings with obvious confusion. Station Commander, I have never seen anything like this. Her body shows no signs of violence, no foreign substances, no energy weapon discharge. It is as if her biological system simply shut down. Poison? No traces in her system. Her cellular structure is intact. By all medical standards, she should be alive and healthy. Yultar turned to the security chief. What do the monitors show? Chief Bracton, a heavy-set hegemony officer, looked uncomfortable. That is the strange part, sir. The security feeds show nothing unusual. Commander Zethka went to sleep at normal time. No one entered the cell. No energy signatures, no security breaches. She simply stopped breathing at 0347 hours. The environmental systems, all normal. Air composition, temperature, pressure. Everything within standard parameters throughout the night. Yultar felt a cold dread settling in his stomach. Run a complete diagnostic on all station systems. Check for any signs of infiltration or sabotage. The investigation took 6 hours. Every system was examined, every log file reviewed, every sensor reading analyzed. The result was impossible to accept. There was absolutely no evidence that anyone had entered Zethka's cell or tampered with any station system. Yet she was dead. The report reached the Galactic Council within hours. The emergency session that followed was unlike anything in the Council's 1,000-year history. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered in hushed, frightened groups, trying to understand what had happened. High Counselor Nalthok called for order. Fellow council members, we face an unprecedented situation. Commander Zethka has died under circumstances that appear to defy explanation. Counselor Vorthak stood at his platform, his crystalline features showing strain. High Counselor, our investigation shows no evidence of human involvement. There were no security breaches, no signs of infiltration. It appears to have been some form of natural death. Natural death? The representative from the Centaurian Alliance sounded skeptical. A healthy Velcarian officer in a maximum security cell dies at the exact moment when humans are demanding her extradition? This is too convenient to be coincidence. Yet we have no proof of human involvement, Vorthak insisted. Their ships maintained position throughout the night. No shuttles launched, no energy weapons fired, no communication with the station beyond standard diplomatic channels. The debate was interrupted by an incoming transmission. Admiral Chen appeared on the main display, her expression unreadable. Council members, she said formally, I understand you are investigating the death of Commander Zethka. The Human Defense Force wishes to express our condolences on this tragic event. Counselor Vorthak stepped forward. Admiral Chen, we find the timing of this death highly suspicious. What involvement did your forces have in this incident? None whatsoever. Our ships remained in position throughout the night, maintaining communication silence as requested by Station Commander Yultar. Yet you cannot deny this serves your purposes perfectly. Admiral Chen tilted her head slightly. How so? You demanded the transfer of Commander Zethka for trial. Now she is conveniently dead, unable to defend herself against your accusations. Counselor, Admiral Chen replied, we demanded justice for the assault on my son. That justice has now been served. A murmur ran through the council chamber. Several representatives looked shocked at the implication. Are you claiming responsibility for Commander Zethka's death? High Counselor Nalthok asked. I am stating a fact. Commander Zethka struck a human citizen with intent to cause grievous bodily harm. Under human law, the penalty for assault with a deadly weapon resulting in permanent disfigurement is death. That sentence has now been carried out. Counselor Vorthak's voice rose in anger. You murdered a council officer. I executed a criminal who assaulted a human citizen. The method of execution was chosen to minimize collateral damage and demonstrate our capabilities. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions and accusations while the High Council struggled to maintain order. Through it all, Admiral Chen remained calm and composed. Order. High Counselor Nalthok's voice boomed across the chamber. Admiral Chen, are you confessing to the murder of Commander Zethka? I am acknowledging that justice has been served for crimes against humanity. The specific methods used are classified under human military doctrine. This is an act of war against the Galactic Council. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. No, Counselor. This is a proportional response to an act of aggression against a human citizen. Commander Zethka caused permanent injury to my son during his lawful duties. She has paid the appropriate price for that action. You cannot simply execute council officers. Actually, we can. Admiral Chen gestured and the display changed to show a legal document. Article 93 of the Interstellar Justice Code allows for immediate execution of foreign nationals who commit acts of war against council member species. Commander Zethka's assault on a human intelligence operative during a legal law enforcement operation constitutes such an act. Vorthak studied the document with growing disbelief. This article has never been invoked in council history, because no species has ever been foolish enough to attack human citizens before. You have established a precedent, Counselor. We have simply followed it to its logical conclusion. High Counselor Nalthok leaned forward. Admiral, how did you accomplish this execution? Our investigation shows no evidence of infiltration or attack. Admiral Chen smiled for the first time since the conversation began. High Counselor, that is the question you should be asking yourselves. How did we reach into your most secure facility and eliminate our target without leaving any trace of our presence? The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. If humans could kill someone in a maximum security cell without detection, nowhere in the galaxy was safe from their reach. The answer, Admiral Chen continued, should terrify you. For 50 years, you have allowed us access to your technology, your facilities, your computer networks. You never asked what we were learning or what we were planning. You assumed we would remain grateful junior partners forever. The display changed again, showing technical schematics of various council systems. Life support, security networks, communication arrays. We know how everything works. Council members, we have studied every system, every protocol, every weakness in your technology. We can reach anyone, anywhere, at any time. Counselor Vorthek found his voice again. You are threatening the entire council? I am explaining reality. You believed Commander Zethka could assault a human citizen without consequences. You were wrong. You believed your position as senior species protected you from retaliation. You were wrong. You believed humanity would accept injustice quietly. You were catastrophically wrong. Admiral Chen stood up in her command center. The human species is no longer asking for a place in the galactic community. We are taking our rightful position as equals. Anyone who treats us as inferior will learn the price of that mistake. The transmission ended. Leaving the council chamber in stunned silence, hours later, a package arrived at the council chambers through diplomatic channels. Inside was a stasis container holding Commander Zethka's severed head, perfectly preserved. Attached was a simple message: proportional response completed. Marcus Chen suffered a permanent scar from assault by your officer. Commander Zethka's life was deemed equivalent compensation. We trust this clarifies human policy regarding attacks on our citizens. Any future assaults on human personnel will result in similar justice. We recommend you share this information with all council species to prevent further misunderstandings. The message was signed by Admiral Chen and bore the official seal of the Human Defense Force. The package also contained detailed technical specifications for the weapon that had killed Zethka. It was a computer virus, transmitted through the station's own environmental systems that could precisely target the nervous system of any known species. The documentation made it clear that humans possessed similar weapons for every species in the galaxy. The Council faced a terrible realization. For 50 years they had been dealing with what they thought was a primitive, grateful species, useful for trade and manual labor. Instead, they had been watched, studied, and infiltrated by a patient, ruthless civilization that had used those 50 years to position itself for this exact moment. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted overnight. Humanity was no longer a junior partner begging for acceptance. They were a force that could reach anyone, anywhere, and deliver precise,